Okay, so the purpose of this video is to give you a record of some things that you can be working on. Okay, so I don't expect you to remember all these things, but that's why I'm recording it on video. Okay, so you can come back and reference this many times. Okay, so back up here. So we have wind up on the left, stretch on the right. Okay, so right away, see a couple differences. Okay, not a couple. I see one main difference. We just see a little bit different lift right here. Okay, so you can notice that when you go from the stretch that you pull your left knee back a little bit more. We like this, okay? So I'm not necessarily telling you what to do yet, I'm just noting that there's a little bit of a difference already, okay? So we see you pulled your left knee back a little bit more from the stretch. Okay, then I take you where your hand goes down. Okay, so we see that affecting what happens next. Let me make sure this is still synced up. Okay, good. Okay, and that as your leg goes down and your hand goes back, you can see that this, here, let's do a line. My lines aren't perfect, but the idea is that your left leg, because you pulled it back a little bit more, stays under you a little bit longer. On the left, your left leg starts getting out from under you a little bit soon. Okay, so all I'm showing you is that what we do at the beginning is really important because it sets ourselves up for what we can do later. Okay, so you can imagine if you kicked your leg straight up over your head, that would have an impact on what happens after that, right? Okay, so I'm really big into what happens in our lift and how we get out of our lift. Earlier in our lesson, we talked about the importance of having momentum and knowing how to move our body. And we know that the challenge of throwing a baseball off the mound is that we don't get to move our feet. Okay, so limiting our foot movement and only having a leg kick and a stride makes things a little bit more challenging. Okay, so I'm going to simplify this into one thing, and that's this. We need to use our hips before we use our shoulders. So how we turn our hips is really important. Okay, so I'm going to throw out a big number here. 80% of velocity can be attributed to hip and shoulder separation. Okay? 80% of your velocity can be attributed to your ability to turn your hips before your shoulders. You see you do that. Okay? I see your hips turning before I see your shoulders turning. Okay? So the idea is, okay, great, you're doing it, but now how do you do it even better? Okay? And I'll tell you this. Before your left foot's on the ground, what's the only thing connected to the ground for this whole part? Your right leg. Okay, your right foot and your right leg. Okay, so if you look at your right leg right now, okay, imagine you putting yourself in that position and doing anything else. So if I look at your right leg position, okay, the fact that your right knee is turning in is putting it in a weak position. Okay, so we'll talk more about this after I record this video, but as to what we can do, but you can see and look at that and go, oh, would I put 100 pounds on my shoulders and put my knee in that position? Probably not. If I said, hey Liam, I want you to jump out as far as you can, you probably wouldn't put your knee in this position. If I said do anything athletic, you probably wouldn't put your knee in this position. Okay? So the idea is this. Your hips have to turn before your shoulders. Your right leg drives your hips. So understanding that you throw the ball more with your right leg than anything else is very valuable. That's why we're going to learn how do we keep our right leg in a strong position so when we go to use it, it's not in a weak position, but rather a strong position. Hopefully this is helpful. We'll take you through follow through. There's a lot of similarities here in the stretch and wind up as far as what happens when you actually release the ball. Okay, so I'm not going to really make any comments to that.